Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name is Colette and this is my channel Inspiring Life Changes, and I'm here today to do the reading for the total lunar eclipse that is happening in the sign of Sagittarius on the 26th of May. It is a supermoon and it is a full moon total lunar eclipse. So the moon is going to completely be covered by the path of the earth, and it will be seen from Australia, parts of the western US, the western South America and Southeast Asia, and it's going to disappear for 14 full minutes. Unfortunately here, if you're in the UK, you will not be able to see this unless you watch it online, of course. It's the only way that we'll be able to experience it, but we will definitely be feeling the effects of it long term as well. A lunar eclipse, total, very rare event, in fact, total lunar eclipse. You feel the effects are felt for about 6 months after the actual event until the next total lunar eclipse, which will be 6 months time, when the moon is closest to the moon's nodes, which at this time are in Gemini. So I am calling this reading for this super full moon total lunar eclipse, opening doors from the past to the future. So we'll start off with the full moon energy card here, which as ever is all about surrendering to the divine. It's also about a culmination of something. It's when the energies are building up and it reaches that kind of crescendo point and point of release. So that's the full moon energy itself taking place in Sagittarius, as I said. So it's a fire sign, fire energy, and we're being told to look at the bigger picture, which is very interesting because this whole full moon total lunar eclipse is such huge energy. The big picture is massive. I mean, really big. It takes in so much all at once that it's quite difficult to kind of see the total big picture, but it's kind of saying expand beyond the limitations of where you think you are or what you believe at this time, because the moon is going to be right next to the south node, and I will talk about that through the reading as well. So it's a mutable moon being in the sign of Sagittarius, which means that everything's up in the air, nothing's set in stone. It's very kind of malleable energy, very changeable, kind of might think that this is a definite one moment and then change your mind again in the next 15 minutes or so, even less maybe. So just be prepared for kind of backwards and forwards ideas at this time, especially as we have Mercury about to go retrograde as well in the sign of Gemini. So these are both mutable energies. Emotions are running high because it is a super moon, so it is full on, and the energy has been building up really since the last new moon that just took place in Taurus. So the energy since then has been kind of building up to this moment of this full moon in Sagittarius. And we also have this card. So today we have 5 cards in all, and conclusions are within reach because of the full moon eclipse. So that's all the 5 cards that we have together. But I did ask for one more card from the Black Moon Astrology, and interestingly I was given the Fire Element card, which is about desire. It's also about passion. It's also about burning through things, and fire is a good way to purify, of letting go, releasing things, which very much this is about. This whole energy is all about releasing and letting things go. It's really big theme for this particular total lunar eclipse. So if you think of how farmers used to burn their fields in the past, they would, after they'd taken in their harvest, they would burn what was left so that the field could come back to life the following year, as a way of kind of bringing the new energy, the new growth in. So it's a kind of similar energy here as well. So fire element seems to be the biggest energy, and of course Sagittarius is a fire sign. It is where this total lunar eclipse energy is happening. So the divine masculine sun energy is opposing the divine feminine moon energy during the time of a full moon. Before I start, I will just say that this is my intuitive interpretation of what is taking place at this time in the sky. So this full supermoon is also a total lunar eclipse. It's taking place in Sagittarius. It is the first of the eclipses for this year. It is taking place in the 9th house, mutable energy, on the 26th of May at 05 degrees 25 minutes at 12:13 hours UK time, so that's afternoon. Anyone with planets or points between the 0 to 10 degrees of both Sagittarius and the mutable, changeable energy of opposing Gemini will be feeling the full effect of this intense, powerful total lunar eclipse. Also, if you have any points and planets at the same degrees of the other two mutable signs of Virgo and Pisces, you too will experience the effect of this strongly. Particularly Pisces at this time as well, because Jupiter has just moved into Pisces. He's now at 1 degree, so he's only just kind of moved into Pisces, but he's moving pretty quickly. But when he gets to about 2 degrees in June, he will go retrograde. But Jupiter is kind of magnifying that Piscean energy as well. So as this total lunar eclipse is happening in a fire sign though, it will also have a strong influence on the other two fire signs of Aries and Leo, particularly if you have anything with those same degrees. But it will still be beneficial for fire signs, which is this kind of fire trine that we're seeing here as well. So if you are a fire sign, you will feel this powerfully as well, purely because it is actually taking place within another fellow fire sign energy. Although when I say beneficial, as I said, it will still be beneficial for fire signs in general, but beneficial could manifest in what may appear in a kind of contradictory manner. And hopefully as I go through the rest of this reading, you'll kind of get the grasp of that and understand why I feel it is kind of that way. So check out where this 05 degrees of Sagittarius falls in your own chart, as this is where it will manifest itself for you on a personal, individual level. Collectively, we will experience it through the 9th house energies. So just have a quick sip of my tea. So the 9th house rules over higher knowledge, ancient wisdom, philosophy, places of higher learning, colleges and universities all come under the 9th house domain, as do spiritual teachings, religion, non-conventional learning, seekers of spiritual wisdom, gurus, universal laws, long distance travel, distance in general, adventure, exploring, research, truth, freedom, faith and belief systems all come under the same 9th house domain. So lunar eclipses are a time of deep transformational change, both individually and collectively, although not always obviously, as the energy of a lunar eclipse can last months beyond a usual full moon energy. And in the mutable sign of Sagittarius, it could take a while for the dust to settle before the results become clearly seen. A lunar eclipse will always take place during the time of a full moon. And this one is occurring at a time when the full moon is once again closest to the Earth, hence it being a super full moon. So the pull of the moon is at its highest, which will have an effect on our tides and the tectonic plates of Earth herself, as well, of course, as on our own emotional bodies as well, being made up of more water than anything else. We are also affected by the full moon. And when the moon is closest, we are emotionally more likely to be at a higher emotional state. A lunar eclipse is a time when the Earth passes between the full moon and the sun, casting its shadow on the face of the moon. It is symbolic of the shadow side of ourselves that we are being asked to become aware of, especially around whatever the emotional energy in whichever house individually this full moon is revealing. A lunar eclipse will heighten it and magnify that feeling, which may cause feelings of stress, anxiety, nervous worry and exhaustion, as it will shine a light on and expose the situations and relationships that we need to release in order for our personal growth to be able to occur. So these may be situations or relationships that we may not want to acknowledge as something that we have to let go of, or something that's not helping us to evolve and to grow. So this is why it can also be a contradictory thing, because it may be for our benefit, but we may not realise it at the time. So the time of a full moon total lunar eclipse, the light from the sun is cut off. This one will last for around 14 minutes and will serve like a reboot, shutting off the energy for us on an emotional level, so that when it comes back online, it will have cleared out a lot of the old stagnant energy and kick-started us up on a new timeline. So it's a bit like cleaning out a computer or defragging, or it's that same kind of thing. It kind of takes out the negative, the kind of stagnant energy that's hanging around. And the more that we can release and let go during that full moon period, or during that total eclipse period, should I say, the more that we can let go as we're feeling it coming up and rising for us, the more that we are aware of it and can let it go, the more it will be like a quantum leap forward into our future destiny. So during these 14 minutes, we are being given the opportunity to cut the ties to the old and release ourselves from our shadow energy and open ourselves up to a totally new perspective. This lunar eclipse will bring aspects of our own personalities to the surface that we have not looked at or have chosen to ignore. Anything from bad habits, toxic partners that we cling to, friendships that are past their best, unhealthy eating, repeating patterns, and addictions, which can be to anything that we feel we must have in our lives, will be shown to us at this time. Addictions can be things that we are reliant on, that we feel as though if it wasn't there, then even if it's not good for us, that our world would fall apart, so to speak. So we are experiencing this full moon lunar eclipse with the moon conjunct the south node at 11 degrees and 9 minutes, while the opposing sun is conjunct the north node in Gemini, which is bringing in a sense of as one door closes, another one opens. Only these doors are like portals to a metaphorical world coming into and going out of existence. So here we have the two nodes of the moon being activated. The south node represents our old karma, what we have learnt and need to let go of, as we have come as far as we can and are needing to relinquish our attachment to this ninth house energy. As this is a full moon lunar eclipse, which is all about releasing and letting go in itself, this energy is being amplified. Over in Gemini, the Sun is highlighting and illuminating the North Node, which represents our destiny, the future karmic pathway we are heading towards. Gemini is third house energy, which is depicted as the duality of the twins, representative of both sides of our nature, masculine, feminine, good, bad, wrong, right, light, dark, and mortality and immortality. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, who relates to communication, new ideas, new learning experiences. It is the way we gather and process data in our brains. It is also how we learn, how we communicate and share what we learn. It is also inquisitiveness, curiosity, wanting to understand. In the chronology of astrology, it is the time of age from preschool through to late teens. Therefore, it corresponds with the soaking up of information at a time in our lives when we are open intellectually for both learning and programming. The third house is the key for our future exploration into the realm of the ninth house, where we unlock the doors to the mind and go beyond our learning experience to date, pushing beyond the boundaries of what we have learnt through our third house experiences earlier in life. The South and North Node moved into the signs of Sagittarius and Gemini back in May 2020, so they have now been there for 12 months, slowly making their way through. And the previous 2020 eclipse season also involved the same signs at the late degrees of them both, as the nodes always move backwards. So they moved out of Capricorn into Sagittarius, and that's when we got our first set of eclipses last year. So it was in the late degrees of Sagittarius, and now as they move back through the sign, we are getting eclipses in the earlier degrees of the same sign, or the same signs. The idea of letting go and releasing the energies of the ninth house may seem to be contrary, as these seem much more like the kind of influences we would want to hold on to. However, when we become stuck, rigid, closed-minded and dogmatic in our beliefs, we are in fact limiting our ability to do exactly what Sagittarius wants us to do, which is to go beyond these self-imposed limits, to see a bigger view, a greater vista, to push beyond the boundaries of our restricting belief systems. Sagittarius, the sign of the archer, aims his bow at the heavens and encourages us to reach for the stars, to look beyond the physical world we inhabit and to wonder what else is out there. How did we get here, and where do we come from? All the big philosophical questions that the great sages have been asking long before science, religion and philosophy became what they are now today. Both the Sun and the Moon during this total lunar eclipse are in squares with the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, who is forming a T-square, meaning the energy of this total lunar eclipse is also itself being magnified through the benefic, expansive, optimistic, joyful, enthusiastic, and I will add here hopeful as well, bringer of good fortune and gifts, who is now sitting at 1 degree 11 in the 12th house of Pisces, having just entered on the 14th of May. Jupiter has zipped through Aquarius, as he only began his journey in Aquarius back in December 2020. Jupiter is at this time slowing right down as he entered his shadow period on the 27th of March at 22 degrees 19 minutes, which is where he will return to after turning retrograde on the 20th of June at 2 degrees and 11 minutes. So he will only move one more degree between now and then, which is why this may not come through as something obviously beneficial to us at this time, as letting go of what we are attached to, squeaky voice there, as letting go of what we are attached to, even if it is causing us suffering, is not always easy. However, in retrospect, these adverse situations can often turn out to be a hidden gift or a blessing in disguise. In the meantime, Jupiter is in the 12th house energy, which is also very much about surrendering, letting go, releasing what is no longer in our best interest to hold on to. This is very much the theme of this full moon in Sagittarius total lunar eclipse, as Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is connecting with 5 different energies at this time. Of course, Pisces again is a mutable energy as well, so it's bringing in more of that kind of like less fixed energy, shall we say, everything kind of up in the air, kind of not really being able to put your finger on something. So bringing in a sense of strangeness, something you can't quite put your finger on, as we have 8 different energies in the changeable, shifting, less fixed and less stable by nature, mutable frequency. So while Jupiter is magnifying this Piscean energy as the release point for both the Sun and the Moon, so Jupiter is basically squaring both the Sun and the Moon at the time of this total lunar eclipse. So he's making this T-square. He's got the Sun and the Moon over here, and Jupiter's up here in Pisces, making this T-square. So the energy is going kind of backwards and forwards and directing itself up to Jupiter, which is only going to magnify all of this energy even more. So we'll be magnifying and expanding the idea of our soul connection, as Pisces, being the sign of no boundaries, connects us all at that deeper, interconnected subconscious level, which some may call the unified field and others the cosmic consciousness. Jupiter will be expressing through us in a way of heightened awareness, teaching us to trust in our own divinity, our own inner knowing, and to place our faith and trust in that inner guidance of our collective experiences that have led us to where we are to date. We could find ourselves in a tug of war at this time between the feelings of wanting to let something go and free ourselves from old belief systems. Something else that Sagittarius is very much big on is freedom. So we want to have freedom on a bigger scale, and one of the ways that we can do that is to let go of the belief systems that have kept us limiting ourselves so far. So our old belief systems and conditioned ways of looking at the world, and the fear of stepping out of that comfortable safety zone. As the South Node is the place we find familiar in our birth chart. It represents the energy of what we have already accomplished in previous incarnations. It is the place we will gravitate to, as it is what we already find easy to do. It is what we have a natural flair for and find easy to achieve accomplishment in. The North Node, on the other hand, is what we are here to learn. It is the place where our more difficult lessons lie, as we have yet to understand and come to terms with the situations it presents. Often in times of difficulty and stressful periods in our lives, we will return to the easier option of what the South Node is offering. However, we cannot stay there forever, no matter how appealing it may feel, as we will not learn or grow from new soul experiences if we refuse to step beyond that which is of the most comfort to us. So we all have our South and our North Node opposite each other in an axis somewhere in our chart, and depending on which sign they both fall in will depend on which lessons are easiest for you, what you've already learned, what you feel comfortable with energy wise, what for you is easy, comfortable energy, and what it is that you're kind of trying to head towards and learn will be the North Node energy. And if you don't know where any of those placements are for yourselves, there is going to be a free natal link in the description box down below for you to go and check that out before I forget. and you may be able to have get a bigger understanding of what the nodes actually entail. At the moment, as I was saying, they're in Sagittarius and Gemini, and they will remain there until the end of this year, moving I think in January 1922 into Taurus and Scorpio, which will be a whole different ball game of learning and things that come up for us. I find it quite interesting as well, the fact that the Gemini North Node has been a time where the schools in particular have been kind of very much in focus, and what is taking place in schools at this time has been very much in focus. And previously, when it was in Cancer, which is all about the home, that was when really we were all put into lockdown and kind of locked up in our own homes. So that was the Cancer energy was kind of saying, you know, focus on this energy because this is important. The home and the heart is where it's at. And for this Gemini energy, it's kind of bringing in that sense of, you know, what is it that you are teaching your children, or what are your children learning? Are they expanding and broadening their experiences, or are they just kind of being regurgitating the same information? But also, I think more and more people are becoming aware of how difficult it is today for children, very small children especially, to be in that kind of environment, and how oppressive it has become. So apart from the opposition with the Sun and the North Node, and the conjunction with the South Node and the square with Jupiter, this full moon total lunar eclipse is making one more connection. She and the South Node are both also in a powerful, easy flowing, beautiful trine with Chiron at 11 degrees 53 or 12 degrees in Aries. The Sun and the North Node are also making a lovely sextile to this enlightened master of the healing arts. Chiron is closely linked to Sagittarius, as he is the centaur in his greater form, both man and beast. He represents our animalistic base nature, as well as the human mind, that has the ability to rise above our instinctual, animalistic driven nature and come instead from a place of higher wisdom and consciousness. In order to do so, though, we need to face the shadow of our baser nature, as what we ignore has a habit of coming back to bite us on the arse and create chaos. This is part of the healing that is taking place collectively at this time on our planet. And Chiron is adding another dimension here, as he opens us up to the healing of releasing generational belief systems that have caused bigotry and dogmatism, as we hang on to conditionings that are no longer who we are or what we are becoming as we enter this new era of our evolutionary cycle. The Sun is also engaging with two other planets, both in trines to our star. Saturn is now at 13 degrees 30 minutes in Aquarius, and he has just turned station retrograde on 23rd of May at 13 degrees 30 minutes. At the time that Saturn turned retrograde on the 25th, he was in a very positive trine with the Moon in Libra at 13 degrees, as well as with the North Node at 11 degrees 13, and Venus at 19 degrees 32. Bringing some stability, grounding and commitment into our relationships and love life, opening up a pathway to new possibilities or ideas for solving old problems or issues in intriguing or new or unique ways. Saturn will be returning to the 06 degrees 52 mark in October, where he will station direct. He will be outer shadow. So he will not be outer shadow, I thought it was not, but I couldn't see it, until January 2022. With this trine to the Sun, Saturn is grounding our reality into the now moment in order to achieve whatever we are working on. It is reminding us to focus on the now as it is the only time we can make anything happen in our life. So as opportunities may arise out of the unexpected, Saturn is saying grab the new and let go of the old stagnant energy and whatever has been holding us back or restricting our sense of direction and purpose. Saturn in retrograde is saying it is time to come together and begin to build something solid and concrete for the betterment of the human race. That's the Aquarian energy, because Saturn is in Aquarius at this time, which is where he's going to be going retrograde from that 13-degree mark back to the 6-degree mark. So basically he's going to be going over the same ground that he has already covered from when he first entered his shadow period, which I think was on the 14th of February, if I remember rightly. I think Saturn came into shadow on the 14th of February. So he's going to return to that same degree point and return over the same kind of energy as what we were experiencing from the 14th of February up to the 23rd of May, when he turned station direct. And of course once he gets to that point he will then go back over the energy again, so like always 3 times over that same spot. So check out where that is in your own personal chart, the 6 degrees of Aquarius and the 13 degrees of Aries area, wherever that falls for you. As Saturn is going to be helping us to master something and teaching us patience within that area. So whichever area it is falling in for you personally at this time, that house area is where you are being given the chance to go back over something, to relearn something, to reevaluate something with patience and diligence, because that is another side of Saturn as well. He is the master of time. So the other trine happening with the Sun at this time is to Pluto, retrograde at 26 degrees 37 minutes in Capricorn. Pluto is still in a trine with the Black Moon Lilith, at 24 degrees 08 in Taurus. She is continuing the energy of righteous rage, which is what I talked about in my previous video. So if you haven't watched that video, I suggest you go back and watch it, because this righteous rage, which has been in place since the new moon on the 11th of May in Taurus, is only going to become more and more intense, particularly from this total full moon eclipse onwards as well, because from now until September, I believe it is, possibly October, Black Moon Lilith's energy is going to be very, very magnified, very powerful. She's going to also meet up with the North Node in Gemini as well over these coming months. So it's an energy that is kind of in the background, but it's also an energy that we are seeing happening at this time, and we are going to see more of it. As I was saying, it's going to become more and more intense. Righteous rage is going to, people are going to start feeling particularly angry about things that they are going to learn as things shift and as things change, and as more information starts to come out about certain things that have not necessarily been honest and truthful. People are going to start to feel anger and rage, and it's righteous because we have the right to feel that, particularly if what has taken place has been something that has been, I hate to say deliberate, but I can't really think of any other word that better describes what people are going to discover. So it's all going to play into this whole shift and change of energies that are coming up. So particularly during this total lunar full moon eclipse, there's going to be a lot of belief systems which could become well and truly like shattered and unraveled. Like people could just suddenly realize that they've been believing something now for quite a long time, or they've put their trust into things for quite some time, and they could see that very clearly their trust has been misplaced and their belief has been misplaced. And when that happens, there is going to be a lot of righteous rage. So this aspect of Pluto and Black Moon Lilith is also bringing all our deepest worries, our stresses, fears and shadow energies up from the subconscious in order to be transformed from the base metal of Pluto into the light of the sun. Removing these long-held negative energies from our physical body, like toxic poisons, is part of the alchemical process, as this is an energy that is going to reveal a lot of skeletons that have been hiding in cupboards, as well as a lot of shadows and darkness hidden from the world by seats of power. Pluto and Black Moon Lilith are both, one either side, sextile with Neptune at 22 degrees 57, 23 degrees, adding a sense of the mysterious and unknown, of not knowing what is hidden behind the secretive veiled world of Neptune, one of the planets we know is out there, beyond Saturn, but we cannot see it with the naked eye, which makes it a strange and nebulous place for us, especially as all three of these energies, Pluto, Neptune and Black Moon Lilith, deal with the bigger mysteries of life, birth, death, life, creativity, all the life force energy itself. It feels like it's going to be like facing a reality of our own mortality and realizing we all hold this truth in common from the moment we take our first breath. Neptune is a major player in the overall energy at this time, as he's also making aspects with two of our inner planets and square to Venus and a trine with Mars. So Mercury is at 24 degrees 14 minutes and is conjunct Venus at 21 degrees 19 minutes. Both are in Gemini and both are square to Neptune. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, where Venus is the lower base energy of our romantic love, the idea of beauty being in the eye of the beholder, as well as all those things which bring us our most desired physical pleasures and passion. Neptune, on the other hand, is our deeper empathy and compassion. It is the recognition that sometimes we need to surrender and let go, to immerse ourselves in the watery world of the ethereal, also known as the psychic realm or the unknown. Neptune, though, could also play tricks on us, as it can be a place of illusion, deception, self-sabotage, and feelings of being a victim to circumstances beyond our control. With this square, we may be confronted with issues of a lack of our own self-worth or our perception of our self-image being brought into the light for us to take a closer look at. With both Venus and Mercury conjunct in Gemini, the monkey mind could get very busy and overwhelmed with details. So we may need to get out of our heads and into a higher state of consciousness, focusing our mind through meditation, breath work, or some kind of creative outlet, especially to do with expressive writing, will really help at this time. Mercury is also slowing right down, getting ready to station retrograde on the 29th of May, during which time we may find ourselves jumping to conclusions in our personal relationships without having fully checked out all the facts, as Venus and Mercury will be conjunct exact on the same day at 24 degrees 41 minutes. All of Mercury's qualities will be magnified. As he continues to sextile with Neptune, who he will meet up again due to his retrograde period, this could involve a lot of confusion around what we believe we are feeling. Should we trust and listen to our head, Gemini, or our heart, Neptune? This could also be a time when we ourselves attract something disastrous into our lives that has the ability to glamour us. As a glamour being the original word for a spell, which incidentally is where we get the word grammar from, the French meaning grimoire, to create magic or cast a spell, all very Neptunian in its nature. So watch out for this potential. The last of the 5 aspects Neptune is making is the trine to Mars at 20 degrees and 6 minutes in Cancer. Here we are being asked to face up to what makes us feel insecure and sensitive to the outside world. Mars, our inner warrioress, is deeply feeling our insecurities, the things that make us want to run and hide from the world. That is insensitive, uncaring, unempathic, and unsympathetic to our needs. This trine in Neptune is encouraging us to come out of that shell, to stop allowing ourselves to cower in the face of the unknown and trust in our own ability to know what is the best action for us to take for ourselves, to step up and refuse to be driven by our fears or to let ourselves be swept along by the fears of others, which may become a lot more intense as Mars will try and exact with Neptune on the 31st of May at 23 degrees and 1 minute. This is when those feelings of insecurity that may have been stored within our bodies on a cellular level, which is very Mars energy, from our childhood, could have us feeling confused and unsure about what we are doing and uncertain as to how we can move forward in a world full of so much instability. Neptune has just hit the 23-degree mark of Pisces for the first time since 1859. Here are a few things that happened during that year. Oliver Cromwell dissolved Parliament. The first oil well struck black gold in the US. Big Ben came into operation. The Carrington event, the biggest solar storm in modern recorded history, and the book on the origins of species by means of natural selection by Charles Darwin came out. The fallout of which is still affecting the human race in a major way today, as nature became mechanical and disconnected from a higher source. And I could elaborate on that, but I feel it's probably best that I don't, because there is a big purge happening on YouTube at this time for people who are speaking out against certain things that are happening within the bigger realm of, shall we just say, science and medicine. But I strongly believe personally that the whole idea of evolutionary species by Charles Darwin has affected how we are looked at as a non-holistic being, shall we say, these days, and just as sums of our parts in a mechanical, robotic fashion. Like you can fix a car by putting in a certain part. It's very much a similar idea of disconnecting from the higher source, which brings it all together. So we are also going to be experiencing some interesting connections in the sky at this time with 3 of what are known as the 4 royal stars. If we look from a heliocentric viewpoint, meaning we put the sun at the centre rather than the earth, then we find the sun is in Taurus, the moon is in opposition in Scorpio, and Jupiter is in Aquarius at the time of this full moon total lunar eclipse. This means all 3 planets are all in fixed signs, and all of them are connecting with the royal star of these signs, also known as the guardians, watchers, or the archangels of Gabriel, Michael, Uriel, and Raphael. They are found in the part of the sky they were said to protect. Aldebaran sits as the eye of the bull in Taurus, in the eastern part of the sky. Antares is the heart of Scorpio as the west star. Fomalhaut is the mouth of the fish, being poured from the water of life in Aquarius, and is the southern star. And Regulus is the lion heart of the North Star, which is the only one not being activated at this time. The Sun is conjunct Aldebaran, and of course the Sun is also connected at this time with the North Node. But the Sun is conjunct Aldebaran, which is also known as the Star of Revelation, or the Star of Buddha, and the Star of Enlightenment. Antares is called Maghan, or the Great, in Persia, as well as the Lord of the Seed for humans. The ancient Chinese called it the Far Star, and the Hindus the oldest wise man. So Antares is conjunct the moon. Fomalhaut was seen as being the penitent man seeking salvation, who drank from the water of life, and is conjunct Jupiter, the spiritual teacher. Aldebaran is seen as a portal to the mysteries of the human mind, and when it aligns with Antares in Scorpio, it is said to open an accessible entrance to the heart. So each of these four stars basically sits in a fixed sign. They are the fixed stars of those signs. And everything else kind of grew around them. All the constellations kind of grew around these four royal stars, as they were known by the Persians. So lastly, the ongoing battle between Saturn the Old and Uranus the New continues. Saturn, now retrograde, will be returning for the second of their three bouts on the 14th of June at 13 degrees and 6 minutes. Saturn, the planet of the status quo, restrictions, regulations, laws, and all things that bind us, will be in a weakened state at that time, meaning we are going to see Uranus, the planet of sudden, unexpected, revolutionary change, win out over the coming weeks and months ahead. More on this in a later write-up. Suffice it to say, major shifts and changes are on the way. So the Sabian symbol for the 5 degrees of Sagittarius is an old owl sits alone on the branch of a large tree. And the keynote is a poised and wise approach to existence based on a clear perception of unconscious factors and their operation. The owl has always been a symbol of wisdom, and its hooting call has evoked a rise to mysterious and hidden elements in life. The owl functions lucidly in the night aspect of existence. His eyes see what men normally fail to perceive. He represents that consciousness which is active, where the process of life normally escape the attention of the personal ego and its intellect. This is the last of the 5 symbols in the 49th sequence. It suggests the possibility of developing a wisdom beyond tragedy, a peace and a poise beyond conflict. One might speak here of translucidity, which basically means it's like being opaque. It's like the light can get through. So it's kind of transparent, but not completely clear. So for the 5 degrees of Gemini, we have a revolutionary magazine asking for action. And the keynote is the explosive tendency of repressed feelings and root emotions. So every movement overstressing one direction calls forth in time an equally extreme movement in the opposite direction. This is particularly true at the level of the dualistic mind symbolized in the zodiac by Gemini. What is rigidly bound in form and convention tends to explode into formlessness. It may do so violently if socially oppressed, through revolution, or at the psychological level in psychosis. Or it may withdraw inwardly into the mystical state in which one identifies with an unformulatable reality. The fifth stage is related to the first, for it is the experience of a world of being so far unperceived by the everyday consciousness which starts the process. In the same sense, a psychedelic experience may momentarily make the mind transparent to a non-ego structured realm of consciousness, and may lead to a sustained attempt at understanding what has been revealed of a transcendent reality. Whether the revolutionary action is violent or peaceful, bitterly resentful or loving, the one desire is to reach beyond established forms. So that's where I'm going to finish the reading part of my astrological reading. I will just ask, if you have learned anything from this, if you've liked my video, could you please thumbs it up for me? As the more thumbs it gets, the more it gets put out into the greater YouTube channel for people to be able to see it, recommend it. It can get put onto more recommended channels. More people like to come back and see the channel that it comes from as well, which is why YouTubers are always saying, please, please, please like our videos, thumbs them up. It does make a huge difference to the algorithms on the channel itself. So if you have already liked and thumbs up my videos, thank you very much for doing so. And if you've already subscribed to my channel as well, thank you very much for doing so as well. And if you haven't, please could you also subscribe to my channel if you feel so inclined. It would be lovely to have you here. And there will be a subscription button on the video or below it for you to tap, and the bell symbol will come up, which you can, if you want to, tap as well and get the videos as and when I put them out. There is also a playlist on my channel for all the videos that I do. I do all the full moon, all the new moon, and all the, sorry, just looking at all the different cards that have just turned themselves over. There's quite a few there. All the full moon, new moon, both the astrology and the tarot for both of them. And also I do all the zodiac signs as well. If you haven't been to my site or my channel before, there are no dates on any of my readings either, because crap happens all the time. So I just put titles on, and if the title resonates with you and you watch it and you think, oh yeah, that's definitely what's happening in my life at this time, then it's meant for you at that time. So here we have the first card, which is listen for truth. Truth is truth wherever you hear it, which is very much a Sagittarius energy, one of the things that Sagittarius rules over. So many of you have been taught that desire is wrong. Desire has always been part of your journey. Now your desire becomes complete with your unison light, which is interesting because this is also about desire, a card that I pulled earlier. Accept the new raised energy on your own level of being. You must have no desire to cling onto or to learn or to lean, on what you have called gods. So I'd also say that that would count to leaning on whatever we, again, like the addictions and the things that we feel that we must have in our lives, and that our lives would be empty if we didn't have them. Addictions can be many things. It can be food, it can be the usual alcohol, drugs, it can be people, it Addictions can be found in many different places. Those of you who have risen in consciousness know of the reality of the changes and know that you must keep a stillness within. Which is particularly strong at this time as well. The idea of meditating, as I was saying earlier on, meditation, creative outlets as well is a form of meditation, as well as breath work, yoga, that kind of thing. So you must first lose the desire to help, for this will of itself hinder your actual help for others. So that's interesting as well. It's kind of saying to me that helping others is not always the best thing for them, because sometimes what we think is right may not be right for that person for a start, because we become so focused on our idea of how to help that person. What we think is right for them is not necessarily going to be the actual right thing or what they're looking for. So they may also, in that sense, not be able to find the help from inside themselves that they may have to learn from at that time. And the last card that I'm going to read here is a Namaste blessing card, and it is the Om Shanti peace blessing. And it says, Om Shanti, blessed are you with everlasting peace beyond words or understanding. Blessed are you with tranquility and bliss. Blessed are you with the clarity that reveals the beauty of your soul and through which all appears as infinite. Namaste. So I'm going to finish the astrological reading there, and again say thank you for coming here and listening and watching my reading. I hope that it has been of some help to you. I hope you have learned something or got something of some interest, some help from it. And please take really good care of yourselves at this time. Have a fabulous full moon total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius energy. Try and let as much go from your past that is no longer working for you, no longer valuable or helping you progress forward, even if it may be contradictory to what you believe to be true at this time as well. So good luck with it all, and hopefully I will see you again soon.